Sides. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Spokane, Washington. I come to you like every Wednesday night with 3 new card ideas to show you how I made them, and then once a month I come to you on a Saturday, like today, and I show you some alternate ideas for that month's Paper Pumpkin kit. So I am excited to share this month's kit with you. It's called Fun in the Sun, and it was a lot of fun to play with this kit, so I can't wait to show you what I've come up with. If you're new to Paper Pumpkin, this is our monthly subscription that you can purchase. You can buy 1 month just to try it out, or you can buy it in 3, 6, or 12 month increments. And of course, like anything that you buy in bulk, so to speak, the more months you subscribe for, the bigger price break you get. So if this is something that interests you in checking out, I'd love to earn your business by having you go to my website, heathersides.stampinup.net, and you can check it out, see what you think. It's called Paper Pumpkin. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this camera turned around. I'm going to show you the ideas I've got for you. Normally I do 3 cards. This month, when I was starting to make the ones that are just extras that I like to show you, I don't know what I was thinking, and I cut supplies for it for an extra one. So we're going to make 4 cards tonight, so I'm going to try to get right into it. Before I do that, I guess I do want to remind you that we have a special going on this month where once you've spent $50, for every $50 you spend, you get a $5 coupon from Stampin' Up! That you can use on a further purchase. So be sure to check that out before the month ends. Now I mean it. Now I'm going to turn this camera around and we're going to get going on this month's cards. Hang on just a second. Whoops. Having trouble getting this loosened up here. There we go. Get it all turned around for you. And I think... Hey, John, welcome. I forgot to get my monitor set up so that I could see everything. Hey, I've got my fan blowing. Is that creating a lot of noise? Let's see here. Oh, good. I've got it on here. Not really. Oh, good. Well, if it does become a problem, definitely let me know, and I can turn off the fan. That's fine. Okay, so let's see here as I just try to get this all adjusted here. And if you're interested in finding out more about Paper Pumpkin or purchasing an order for supplies or whatever, there's my website for you right there. Okay, so this month's Paper Pumpkin, Fun in the Sun. Like I said, I had a lot of fun with this. How many of you guys have, hold on. Woo. Okay. How many of you guys are already Paper Pumpkin subscribers and you've already started to play with your kit? Hi, Robin and Marcia and John and Joyce. Let's see. That's true. I appreciate that, Joyce. Thank you. Joyce says she'd rather hear the noise than see me pass out. You know, I'd kind of rather have the noise than pass out. So we're good. Okay, so, and you guys, if Jackson comes home, he's not home right now, but if he comes home, I may have a surprise for you guys. If he doesn't, then stay tuned on Wednesday and I'll share our little surprise. Okay, my camera is just having issues tonight. If he comes home before my live is over, I will share our little surprise with you. Okay, back to Paper Pumpkin. You can see I've made a mess of my kit because I had a lot of fun playing with all the pieces and supplies. This month's kit came with a Daffodil Delight ink spot. If you're unfamiliar with Stampin' Up, John has the kit, but he hasn't done anything yet. Okay, hopefully this will inspire you to get yours out and play with it. I think you'll have a great time. Every month, your kit comes with an ink spot, which is a 1x1 inch pad of ink in a different color. And Stampin' Up! Promises not to repeat colors for at least 12 months. So just something to know. It's a great way to build up your colors if you don't have a lot of ink pads. It also includes a stamp set each month. And if it's your very first kit, you also get an acrylic block for the stamps. Then you get die cuts and card bases and envelopes. You get everything that you need to make between 9 and 12 cards or projects, depending on the month. And you get everything you need except for a pair of scissors. So this month's kit, Fun in the Sun, This is the instruction sheet that comes with it. It's got a ruler on the side. It's got very easy to follow instructions on how to make the cards. However, I will say this month's cards, the card bases have kind of a 3D effect, which I'll show you in a minute. And I felt like the instructions were just a little bit lacking in how to piece it together. So I did have some trial and error. So be careful when you're doing that. But usually for the most part, it's really straightforward and easy to figure out how to do what you need to do. And then on the back, there's a picture that shows you all the supplies that come in that kit. For example, the die cuts, the various adhesives. Sometimes there's ribbon or twine. Sometimes there's embellishments. And then they give you some information about a couple more ideas, alternate ideas. And down here, I know you can't read this because it's really tiny, but I just want to point it out. It tells you the combination colors that go into the kit. So if you're doing alternate designs and you want to pull out some of the cardstock that you may already have or the ink that you already have, you want to venture apart from the single color that's been sent in your kit, this is a great resource to tell you what colors will match very well with your kit. The stamps this month look like this, and lots of fun little sentiments. Hello Sunshine. This one's my favorite. Sorry I was crabby. I wish there had been more crab die cuts because I definitely would have made a card with that sentiment. I probably should make a whole bunch with that sentiment, to be honest with you. Waving hello, I see brighter days ahead, sending an ocean of love. Wish you were here. Relax, you deserve it. And sending sunshine to, there's a sun and there is a starfish. So a lot of fun little stamps there. And then of course, here's some of the die cut pieces. And like I said, I made an absolute mess of mine, just tearing it apart and doing all sorts of alternate things. And that to me is the fun part of the kit. But the nice thing about a kit like this is it works well for somebody who's maybe a new stamper and doesn't have a lot of supplies, or maybe just doesn't quite know how to make cards yet. It walks them through so easily. Joyce, I've had months that I skipped to and then in the end regretted it. So I think every subscriber out there can agree with you on that one. So anyway, let me show you some cards now. I'm going to show you the 3 cards that Stampin' Up! Designed to be made with the kit first. These are the 3 cards. I love these envelopes this month. They're kind of a really, really pale blue, and then they have this fun striping on the flap. And those of you who watch me regularly know that I always decorate my envelope flaps, so no need to do that with these. And these cards have kind of a 3D effect. It's hard to show on the camera, but you set it upright like this, which I know doesn't help you a lot as it just got blown over by my fan. But you get the idea of how when it's upright, you can kind of see that 3D effect. The only thing I didn't particularly care for about these cards, just so you know, is they don't open like a regular card. So where do you write your sentiment? Well, you could write it there on the back. So that was one downside for me, to be able to write something extra, write a message, whatever. But for somebody who doesn't like to write in their cards, that actually might be really a selling point. Okay, so here was the second card, Stampin' Up! Designed, sending an ocean of love. See, and again, that 3D effect there. And then this one. This was the first one I made, and I did it very, very terribly and had to remake it. And you're going to get to see that because one of the ones we're going to make together was my remake of this card. So there you go. So those are the 3 cards Stampin' Up! Designed. Then I designed 4 that we're going to work through together, and then I've got 3 extras to share with you when we're all done. Okay, so this first card, I brought out my stylish, hang on, that keeps blowing up and that's bothering me. So I'm going to take some of my Post-it tape and tape that edge down so it will stop doing that. There. Okay, so I brought out my Stylish Shapes dies. If you don't have this die set, I really do recommend it because it's so versatile. As you can see, I'm not just using it with my regular cards, I'm using it with my alternate paper pumpkin cards. So I do use it quite a bit. Oh, and that paper is flapping up again. Oh, that's because I put my sticky couple sheets down instead of just one. Okay, so here's the card we're going to make. Oh, okay, this is not working for me, folks. Let's see if I have a weight or something I can put on there in my drawer. Okay, there we go. We're going to see if that works. Okay, so I stamped the envelope. Now I had run out of the envelopes that came with the kit, and you're going to see why in a little bit. So I just brought out one of my white ones, and I stamped it with the little sunshines. And here's the card I made, just nice and simple. Hello, sunshine. Did a little sunshine on the inside. Pretty quick and easy. So let's go ahead and make this one. Got all the little pieces here. We'll start by decorating our envelope flap. I have been busy, Joyce. I have been very busy. Okay. And my delightful Daffodil Delight ink pad and my little sunshine stamp. And I'm just going to stamp it in random spots all over the envelope flap. When I'm doing random spots like this, I do like to go off the edge. I feel like it just adds a little bit of continuity. Okay. Set that right there because I'm going to need it again. Okay. Now, my card base is just your standard card base. It's a half of a sheet of cardstock. It's 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. I've scored it in the middle at 4 1/4. Then I'm going to take my bone folder and just get a nice sharp edge there. And let's do the inside first because we can get that little piece glued in right away. Again, we've got the ink. I'm just going to put it in this upper corner like that. And let's go ahead and glue it to the inside of the card. Just using my Stampin' Seal, or Seal Plus is what it's called, as my adhesive. We have regular seal, we have Seal Plus. Seal Plus is just a little bit stronger. It's a little more expensive, but I would rather just go with the stronger one from the get-go. So that's what I use. I use all of our different adhesives actually just for varying things, and you'll see that. And sometimes there's a reason I use one over the other, and I try to tell you when that's the case. Sometimes I use it because it's just the one that happens to be within reach. Okay, so now let's start on the front piece. This piece of basic white is 5 1/8 inches by 3 7/8 inches. And I have a little strip here. This was one of the card bases that I just cut up to fit right here like this on my piece of basic white. And then I cut a strip of Daffodil Delight that we're going to glue off to the edge here to give it just a little bit of a border. So I'm going to take my liquid glue. For this kind of thing, I like to use the liquid glue because I can then slide around the pieces that I'm gluing together before the glue gets too tacky. That I can make sure that it's lined up exactly the way I want it to be lined up. So now, get that stuck on there, and see I can now kind of slide it around a little bit, make sure that it's straight-ish. Remember, we strive for ish here, not perfection. I should get a t-shirt made with that. Ish, not strive for ish, not perfection. Okay, now I'm just going to trim off these little extra bits of the strip. I don't know if I cut that straight, but and that definitely wasn't straight, but that's okay. Now back to using my snail. I'm sorry, not snail. Snail was a product we carried 1,000,000 years ago. My seal. Okay. There we go. And see how that border just gets it to pop off that white a little bit, and I really do like that. Okay, now I have one of the dies in this kit was a little Adirondack chair, which I think is just darling. And I decided to take my light Azure Afternoon and color it. Give myself a blue chair. And if you have never used our Stampin' Blends, I really encourage you to get yourself a couple and try them out. They are, I mean, they're so smooth and they blend so easily, which you would expect from a product called Stampin' Blends. But they really do a nice job with giving you even color and not a lot of streaking. Now here where I have kind of gone over a color, you know, gone over what was already colored, I am ending up with some darker streaks and spots. I'm okay with that. And the only reason I'm doing 2 layers is because I happened to do 2 layers. There's no particular reason. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and glue my chair right about here in the center of the white section. Use a little bit of my liquid glue here, and the reason I'm using the liquid glue is just because these little slats on the chair are so thin that it would be hard to use regular adhesive. Now with your paper pumpkin kit, you get little mini glue dots that actually work just fine. They take a little bit more time because of course you got to peel the backs off and things like that. But you know, when you don't have other adhesives, you make do with what you have, and they do work very nicely. I just happen to have this on hand, and I like it better, so that's what I'm using. But again, that's not to say that what's provided is not a good option. Okay, now I've got my little banners here, and these I cut from the Stylish Shapes dies. Got a big one in Daffodil Delight and a little one in white. I'm going to take my Azure Afternoon ink, and the stamp I'm going to use says Hello Sunshine. If I can find it. There we go. And I'm going to stamp it on that little white banner. Trying to line it up, which is not so easy to do with the camera right there. Yeah, see how crooked it is? Okay. Now the kit, some of the die cuts that came in the kit are little banners that work great. They just aren't the colors that I wanted for this. They're white with kind of a flirty flamingo trim, and I wasn't using those colors with this particular card, so I just cut them with the dies on basic white and Daffodil Delight. And line this up like so, again using my liquid glue so I can slide it around to get it where I need it. And then I'm going to take my Stampin' Dimensionals, and remember the edges of your dimensionals, these edges here, they're dimensionals as well. So make sure that you don't forget about them, don't throw them out, use them as well. Let's see here, get out some more pieces here. I have all sorts of sheets of these edges that I, that I save but haven't been using. So I need to use these up. There. I probably didn't need that extra little piece in there, but I had it on my finger, so I went ahead and used it. So now I'm just going to peel the backs off. Got my little garbage can here. I love how soothing this card feels. The blues, shades of blue tend to do that. So now let's see, put this right about here. Going for straightish. And finally, I've got a little tiny starfish. My fan is just the right height that it keeps blowing everything off my desk. Okay, now I'm going to take just a little bit of dimensional. A regular dimensional is going to be too big for that. So I'm just going to cut off a little chunk of one of those strips on the side. Oops, that's even a little big. We do have mini dimensionals. You can use those as well. The ones I have tend to be a little thicker. They came with paper pumpkin kits, actually. And I didn't like how it looked being raised up quite so high. So that's why I'm using this instead of one of the little mini dimensionals. And I'm just going to stick it here in the corner, just like so. And now I have a piece of Azure Afternoon cardstock. It is 5 1/4 by 4, and we're going to layer this onto the Azure Afternoon. Oops, trying to put some stuff away as I go so it's not quite such a mess to work in while I'm stamping. Okay, line that up. Try to get your margins even-ish. And now we're going to glue this onto the card, and this card's going to be finished. That was pretty quick and easy, wasn't it? And we had a lot of details there. So let's see here. Just like so. Okay. So now here we have our card with the envelope, and it's all done, and we're ready to move on to the next card. Quick and simple, right? And that is one of the real advantages to the Paper Pumpkin Kit, is the cards are quick and simple because most of the pieces are already provided to you. So that's really nice. Let's pick up some of this here so we can start making a whole new mess. All right. This next card that I have for you is another one that has a lot of pieces, but it comes together pretty quickly. Got your envelope here, so there was no need for me to decorate an envelope. And here we go. This was part of a card front that I cut apart, put a few of these little strips in the background, did a little torn edge on the inside to kind of mimic the shoreline and some water. So let's get started on that. Move my envelope out of the way for when we're ready for it. Again, the card base is a half of a sheet of cardstock. Yes, John just made a good point. He was talking about the side strips of the dimensionals, where I was saying use those extra strips that are on the side. They're dimensionals too. And he pointed out they're great for larger areas. And that is a really good point, because they are. Especially long skinny areas and things like that. So make sure you're using that. Okay, so 8.5 inches by 4.5, or I'm sorry, 4 1/4. Nope, we're going to start that over. Ignore what I just said. Go and rewind. 8.5 by 5.5. Scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Okay, so now we're going to take a bone folder, get a nice sharp folded edge. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I've got the piece for the inside, so let's do the inside first. And I already tore these because what I did when I tore the pieces for my sample one, I just kept the other half of the piece that I tore so that I could fit them together to make the card. So now I'm just going to line them up here like so and glue them right onto my card. So what I'm going to do is, it does help if the pieces are a little wider than this, just because you've got room for your adhesive, but that's okay. And I'm just putting a little bit of glue right on the edge, the front edge of the blue piece that's going to go in the back. And then, I just know my fan's going to blow that over. Okay, and then I'm going to line it up here. Well, see, I told you that was going to happen. Okay. And I'm just lining it up like this so that a little bit of the blue sticks up. There we go. There. Now let's go ahead and glue it onto the piece of basic white. This piece of basic white is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I always like to decorate the insides of my cards, and that is the standard size I use on the inside. You know, sometimes I do something fun and funky and do something a little bit different, but that's pretty much standard. I don't necessarily usually go all out and do something wild on the inside or quite as decorative as the front. I just like there to be a little something to continue the card all the way throughout. So now I'm going to take my snips and trim off the little bit of excess that I had here. There we go. And let's glue this to the inside of the card. Line this up. Try to get the margins relatively the same. There we go. I just had a great idea and I tilted my fan so it's blowing more on my face and less on my projects. Okay, so let's move that out of the way while we do the other pieces of the card. I've got a piece of Azure Afternoon that is 5 1/4 by 4, just like that white piece on the inside. And then this piece is just slightly smaller. It's 1/8 of an inch smaller, so it is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And this is the piece we're going to work with. And I have several strips that I cut out, and I actually cut out a bunch of extra ones yesterday because I was playing with it and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. But now I know I really only want those 3 that are crumb cake. By the way, our card base was crumb cake. And then I have these 2 that are, you know, kind of a cross between a light yellow and a vanilla. These are pieces cut from the card fronts in the kit, or the dies in the kit, or, you know, something of that nature. So I didn't have to break into my normal cardstock to cut those. And all we're going to do is go ahead and glue these strips down. Now we had this conversation a little while ago, maybe it was this week, on my Wednesday night live, where we talked about how the eye really prefers to see things in odd numbers. That it's just, for whatever reason, more pleasing to the eye. The thing I like most about doing odd numbers is it does allow me to try to center things a little more easily. So like in this case with 3 strips, I'm able to have one right there in the middle that kind of gives me a base to work on the other pieces. And see, I'm just kind of, they're not straight, obviously. They're not perfectly lined up. That's one thing I do like about this style of a card, is you just kind of slap them on there, really. Okay, now let's go ahead and glue this onto our card base. Enough glue there, there we go. I'm a big fan of gluing things down as you go, just because I also seem to be a big fan of losing things. So this way I don't lose them. Oh my goodness. Lucy just brought in a giant, Lucy's my dog for any of you that are new, and she just brought in an entire bush practically. And she's gonna sit on my couch and eat it. And she does this when I do my lives. When I'm not live, she tries to bring in little small ones, but when I am live, she brings in big stuff because she knows that I'm probably not going to take time away from my live to chase her down, to take it away from her, little turkey. Okay, so this also is one of the die cuts that was in the kit that I cut down. I made it a little smaller. There was probably another couple inches of blue water here that I cut off. And then I have a piece of my Azure Afternoon. And we're just going to go ahead and layer it like this. And then I'm going to fussy cut over the edge there just to give it a little bit of accent, I guess you could say. But I did find it was a little wider than what I like. So when I did my sample one. So I'm just going to trim off about a 1/16 of an inch. So let's see here. Right now it's 3 3/4. So I'm just, like I said, going to cut off about 1/16 of an inch is really all it needed to lose. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to just go ahead and glue this guy on. Yeah, I like those margins a lot better. And I'm going to take my scissors here. I'm going to put my glasses on to do this. Those of you guys who follow me know that I'm always, halfway into my stamping before I realize that I don't have my glasses on. Now, when you're fussy cutting, remember, move your paper, not your scissors. Some of you guys know that I've started to get my son into stamping with me a little bit. And so we were talking a little bit about fussy cutting the other day. And I told him the trick about moving your paper, not your scissors. And he did it, and he's like, wow, that really is easier. That does make a difference. I said, would I lie to you about stamping? I mean, I might lie to you about plenty of other things, but not when it comes to stamping. I wouldn't lie about that. Okay. There. So I've got the little edge just like so. And I'm going to put some dimensionals on there. Or, let me see if I have some foam adhesive sheets. Hang on. No, but it looks like I need to order some. So we will use the dimensionals, and we're going to use up some of these little strips that I have. Not strips, but the edges from the dimensionals, because we might as well. And by doing this, there aren't quite as many edges to cut off, or not edges to cut off, but backs to peel off. There we go. Get little pieces up here just so that those little tops don't sag. I mean, I might as well, because I have these little extra bits. And it looks like this might be a little bit too long, so we'll, oh, nope, perfect. And then just want to put little tiny pieces right there, so. Oh, Joyce is going crazy about the surprise. Well, you know what? I'm dying about it. So I'll tell you the story. But if he gets home, I will be able to show him. Yeah, exactly. John asked, no rocks tonight, referring to Lucy, who always brings rocks in during my lives. And Joyce said, the evening is young. And you are both right. John in asking about it, and Joyce in saying, oh, give it time. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get some rocks. But when she brings in the big, all the weeds and stuff like that, Jackson refers to it as her getting a salad, which makes me laugh. Okay, so last night around 1 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from Jackson, and he says, I need you to put Lucy in her crate and meet me in the living room. I was like, okay, how come? And he says, you'll understand when I come in. Okay. He comes in, and he has a teeny tiny little kitten. Oh, I didn't want to stick this down yet. Hang on here. Like, I was guessing this kitten was about 4 weeks old. Very tiny. So, you know what? There's a little edge here that's kind of funny, and I just want to smooth it out. There we go. Well, that didn't help. There we go. That's better. Anyway, this tiny little kitten. This is some of our linen thread, and I'm just going to wrap it around and tie a bow. And what I forgot to do was I should have left room for it to lay flat against my paper in the back, but that's not that big of a deal. Let's see, I want to get it, so it's about that height. There we go. So it's in the blue. There we go. Okay, so anyway, he brings in this little teeny tiny kitten. And, I mean, the poor thing, just emaciated, which you can't really see because she's got long fur, but you hold her and you can just feel every single bone in her body. Her little spine was sharp because it was just so, she was so bony. So we were going to take her to a shelter this morning, and, you know, like a no-kill shelter, of course, and take care of her that way. And I just wrestled with that all night long. I was like, I just don't know. So I said, you know what, I'm going to take her to the vet first. I just want to make sure she's healthy, make sure she's okay, see if there's anything she needs. Oh yeah, and Jackson had to go back. Lucy, no. Lucy, no. She was trying to steal my paper. So anyway, I babysat the kitten while Jackson went out and tried to find her food. At 1 o'clock in the morning here, we don't really have, none of the grocery stores are open, nothing is open. And here we have this starving kitty and only like 4 weeks old. So, you know, there's not a lot that she eats. So he found a 24-hour Walgreens, and I said, well, they'll probably have something, you know, some kitten food or something that we can try to feed her. And they did. So he brought it home, and she just, that whole time he was gone, she just rested on my chest and laid there. You know, she wasn't purring or happy or anything like that, but she also wasn't acting like she was scared. And she was just so sweet. So he got home and he fed her, and she had the energy to eat. She wasn't lethargic about eating or anything, but she also wasn't voracious about eating. Okay, so now I'm going to stick this on here just like this, right about the center. Just like that. But anyway, give her a little bit of water to drink. So then I was awake all night long thinking about this whole taking her to a shelter. And I said this morning, I said, I need to take her to a vet. No, she's okay. And, well, we'll just say that by the time I got her home from the vet, we were keeping her. So she weighs less than a pound. The vet is estimating that I was correct, that she's about 4 weeks old. And her name is Goblin. Jackson named her. So we're cat people now. And we're not letting Lucy meet her for probably a couple weeks because she's just so tiny. And I'm sure she has been through so much. Spokane is having a huge issue with feral cats this summer. And I guess the shelters are all full. The vet told me that even if we'd taken her to a shelter, we might not have even been able to get her, they might not have had a spot for her because they are so full this summer. So that's the story of our little Goblin. Okay, I'm just fiddling with the bow here. Now I'll trim it and we'll put a few embellishments on there, and then this card is done. And this looks a little bit long on this side. There we go. And for the embellishments, I have our 2023 to 2025 in color dots. And these are actually Moody Mauve, but I thought on the card I like how they bring out this Melon Mambo. So I'll use my Take Your Pick tool, and we'll put a few of these dots on here. Yeah, I don't like that one there. I think I like it better there. There we go. So card number 2 is done, and we've got our little matching envelope. Got the inside with the torn edge, and we're ready to clean up and make another mess. Robin, Jackson actually wanted to name Lucy Goblin. And I said, no, she's my dog, and I want to name her Lucy. Lucy it shall be. So then we were arguing over what to name Goblin. I wanted to name her Matilda, and Jackson wanted to name her Garbage because he found her near garbage cans. He was just driving, found her on the side of the road near some garbage cans. His headlights happened to catch her. I wanted to name her Garbage. And I said, no. I said, the poor thing has already had such a traumatic life so far, and it just seems mean to name her Garbage. So we compromised on Goblin. Okay, card number 3. Now for card number 3, I used my Basic Borders dies for my envelope, and I'm going to show you why or how. And it's kind of funny because I just this week saw a card with this idea, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. I always like to decorate my envelopes. And then it kind of became a necessity to do that with this card, and I'll show you how. So here's the envelope, and you can see I used the die to give it that swooped look. And then, look at this. See those stripes on the side there? Look at here. I cut them off of the envelope. So once I did that, you can see my envelope, I cut it right there where that blue ends. So it needed to have something for a flap. And that's what I meant by it became a necessity to create the flap in that way. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. There's the inside of this one. You've got your standard card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. You know what, Robin, I was torn between calling her Tildy and Tilly, and Jackson hated the name, and she's kind of going to be his cat, so I had to let him name her, but I held my ground so that it became a matter of agreeing on a name, that we both had to agree on the name. Okay, so let's get started on this envelope and how I did this. Got all these pieces here. This is a piece of our Azure Afternoon Designer Series paper from the Bold Brights color family. And you can see where I cut my flap on my envelope. So I just have this skinny little strip right here. So what I did is normally what I do is I take a strip like this that's 2.5 inches by 6 inches, and I just glue it over the flap that's already there, and then I trim around it. So what I did in this case is I took my dies, and I'm going to use a little bit of my Post-it tape to hold the die in place where I want it. And I want to make sure that this is relatively even. There we go. I think that looks like it's going to be pretty even. Let me get my embossing and cutting machine. Hey, Teresa, welcome. Okay. So now I've got my little cutting machine. I'm just going to put this through. There we go. Fold this back up. That is one thing I do really like about this trimmer or this cutter. Both our little one and our big one fold up nicely like this. I think this is the only die cutting we're doing tonight, but I'm going to save these little pieces of Post-it tape just in case, because I can't remember. And see, now we have a new envelope flap. And we're going to glue this on just like that. Now, of course, this has no adhesive on it, right? So what you do is you just take your tear and tape like this. And I'm gonna feed it all the way around. And I'm gonna leave it there. And when I'm ready to mail this off, I'll just pull the strip off at that time, pull the release tape off. And there we go. Go ahead and push it down really well with my bone folder. And now I'm gonna take my liquid glue and I'm gonna put it on this flap right here. And actually what I should have done is made sure to get it really close to the edge there. Probably way more glue than I need. I don't like it when I do that. And I'm gonna lay it down. Make sure that the edge of the paper is flush with the edge of the envelope. Just like that. If you do get a little happy with the glue and a little too much, you can just wait till the glue dries and then use an adhesive eraser to get it off, which is what I'm going to need to do because I've got it on my fingers now. And it looks like I was going to say it looks like it does go off the edges here just a tiny bit. I'm not too worried about that. See, that extra glue just comes right off. This is not a product Stampin' Up! Carries. It's just called an adhesive eraser, and you can get these on Amazon for a couple of dollars. There. And our envelope is done. Isn't that a fun way to do your envelope? And I was able to use those stripes on the front of the card. So let's do that. I've got my inside here, and all I'm doing with the inside is I've got two strips, one of the Azure Afternoon and one of Pool Party. We're going to glue them together, put them on the side of the card just so that it's a little something. Again, a little crazy with the glue. It does not take a lot. This adhesive is nice and strong. It works really, really well. You don't need a ton of it. And if you use too much, think about it, it's wet. And what happens to paper when it gets wet? It warps and bubbles. So be careful, especially if you're using Designer Series paper where it's not as thick as cardstock. You really get bubbling then. Okay, just trying to line this up so the ends are the same. The reason I like to try to get them so the ends are the same is then I can line them up with the end of the paper here. That helps to guide me to make sure that I've got a straighter, I'm putting it on straighter. If you don't do that, it's not a crisis. And now I'm gonna put that here. Sometimes I like to leave a little bit of a white edge there, and I'm doing that today with this card. Oops. Wiggle it around till it gets where I want it. Again, I'm getting glue everywhere because I've got it on my fingers, and I'll just go back and get that off with the adhesive eraser. Okay. Let's go ahead and glue this into our card. If I can find my adhesive. And try to get it so my margins are relatively the same in all directions. There. Oh, there's a little bit of glue there. Can you hear that? Lucy keeps crashing into the wall. You know what's funny, Joyce? I've had this die set for quite a while, and I just haven't really done a whole lot with it. And then when I saw them do that with their envelope flaps, I'm like, I'm totally going to start doing that. Because it's so, I mean, in this case, I created a whole new flap, but you could do it with the existing flap too. You don't have to create a whole new one. Okay, so now I've got a piece here of Pool Party, and this one I cut a little smaller than I normally do. I think I cut, let's see. I cut this one to be, yeah, it's 3 7/8. Is it 3 7/8? It's about 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then this piece is just 1/8 of an inch smaller, so it's 5 inches by 3 3/4. So I've got my strip that I cut off of the envelope, and let's go ahead and glue this down. Try to get a little bit of glue on the edges there because I don't like it when the edges stick up. And I'm just going to put this right up against the edge of the white. Whoops. Come on, little guy. Might even be a little bit short. There we go. And now one of the dies that came in this kit was this adorable little sign. Now one thing they did that I don't quite understand is the kit also came with little white die cut rectangles that fit here perfectly that you can stamp your message on and put it there. Why you wouldn't just stamp it right on the sign, I don't know. So we're going to stamp "Wish You Were Here" with "Azure Afternoon." I think this is such a pretty blue. I'm going to stamp it right here on our sign. There. I'm not going to stamp Lucy. She goes bonkers whenever my neighbors are out. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue the sign down. Very light with the glue. And I'm just lining it right up along the bottom there. And then one of the dies in the kit was this adorable little pair of sunglasses. So I'm going to put these on our sign, just on the corner like that. Now let's glue that down, and then we'll add our our linen thread and the little embellishments. Go ahead and center it on your card with your margins relatively the same. And I have just a tiny little bit of linen thread, and I'm going to tie a tiny little bow . Now this is the part where I fiddle with it for a while until I get it to be the size and shape that I like it. And I do want my tails to be the same length, so I'm going to, normally I wait to trim them until I have it on my card, but I already know this is going to be short, and I knew that one looked like it was about what I was going to want anyway. So there we go. Let's go ahead and glue it down. What I'm going to do, that little knot, what I do with bows is I put my glue dot behind the knot. Well, in this case, that knot is really, really tiny. So I'm going to roll up my glue dot, so it's like a little glue log, and put it back there. Oh, thank you, Teresa. You know, all those years I got in trouble for not doing as I was told. It's benefiting me now. Okay, now I'm just going to put that right there, like that. And then we have these strange little, I think what these are the embellishments that came in the kit. I think they're itty bitty little sequins, but I can't quite, yeah, I think that's what they are. I think they're teeny tiny little sequins. And I'm just going to put a few on here, put one right about there. And about there. There. Put this away because the little package of them is so small that it gets lost under everything else pretty easily. And I'm going to use them on another card, so I want to be able to find them. But there's card number 2. Another one. Like I said, these are also easy because Stampin' Up! Makes it easy by the fact that everything is already provided. And for the most part, you're just sticking stuff down. Coming up with the ideas takes the most time, but once you've got that, away you go. So, clean up the mess so we can make a new one. I've got one more card for you. Now this next card is the one that I said when I was creating one of the ones that Stampin' Up! Had already designed, I didn't do it quite right. Yes, Robin, the itty bitty kitty was the surprise. Like I said, if Jackson gets home before I'm done with this live, we'll bring her out to show you. But right now we kind of need somebody to wrangle Lucy when we bring out the baby. In fact, it was really funny because I'm wearing overalls, which I wear overalls all the time, and she fits in the pocket along the front of the overalls. She hardly takes up any space in it at all. And I got to the vet today. We didn't have a crate for her or anything. So I walked in there and she was in my pocket. And the gal at the reception desk looked at me and she said, did you bring the kitten with you? I was like, yep, she's right here. Okay, so here's the card. Let me bring out the original one again to kind of show you so you can see the difference. Okay, so this was Stampin' Up's one, and it has all the different layers where you put the different pieces for that 3D effect, right? But I had mine all bungled up and it just was embarrassing. So I redid it. So I took the pieces that I had glued together and thought, what can I do with this to do something similar but different? And this is what we've got. So let's go ahead and make this one together. Again, I used the envelope that was provided, so no need to decorate that. My card base, it's basic card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle, right there at 4 1/4. Again, using the crumb cake ink. I really like blues and browns together, so that's one thing I did like a lot about this kit is the color. And of course they incorporated some other colors into, but there's a lot of the blue and tan, and I like it. So let's do the inside. For the inside, what did I do for the inside of this card? Oh, just a few little starfishes. So for that, I am using Fleur de Flamingo and Delightful Daffodil. Daffodil Delight. All day long I've been saying that backwards. Okay. So I'm going to start where I'm going to stamp off for one of them. What stamping off is where you ink up your stamp and then you stamp the image, which gets most of the ink off. Then you stamp it again without getting more ink, so you get a lighter image. So I stamped one starfish, and now I'm going to stamp the second starfish, and see I've got a dark one and a light one now. Clean off my stamp, and now I'm going to do one in the Daffodil Delight. Put it right there. There. While I have this Daffodil Delight out, I might as well go ahead and stamp the banner. This is one of the banners that came in the kit. They came in 2 lengths, this one and then one that's slightly longer. And I'm going to use the image or the stamp that says Hello Sunshine. and try to get it centered. And straight. Okay, it's neither, but that's okay. Okay, so now set that aside before I lose it. Let's go ahead and glue this to the inside of the card. Oops. Okay. Now I have these two pieces here. I have Granny Apple Green, and this is 5 1/4 by 4. And then I have this piece that is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 that I then ran through my cutting and embossing machine with the painted texture embossing folder. You guys who follow me know that I use this one a lot. I like it because it's a very neutral pattern, that it doesn't detract from everything else going on in the card, but it does still provide a little bit of texture. So it's just not quite so flat looking. And this is Flirty Flamingo. Go ahead and put this right down on the card, maybe. Watch my margins here. Okay, now I think, okay, that's funny. I forgot a piece. Let's make sure I have that extra piece. If not, we will make it work anyway. I think I do not have that card base. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work anyway. Oh, yes I do. Do I? No, I don't. I'm lying. Darn it, I didn't even catch that. That's okay. Like I said, we'll make it work. That's what we do, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, that'll come far enough over that we should still be okay. So this was one of the dies in here, or die cuts that was in here. And I'm going to let that be this little piece in the background there. And we'll wait to glue that down so that we can make sure it gets lined up. Well, actually, I think we're okay to do it this way. Oh, is our crab gonna cover that? Yeah, we'll make it work. We will make it work, because I said we would make it work, right? Let's go ahead and get this on here. And I should have waited to glue everything down. To make this fit. So we're going to trim this just a little bit. So this piece is 5 1/8 inch wide. I want this to be 1/8 of an inch smaller, so I'm just going to chop 1/8 of an inch off, or make it 5 inches. There. Let's see. Let me take just a teeny bit off of this side. Okay. Look at us making it work, right? Flattening down that little lip. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue this on here. So we've got a little bit of the Flirty Flamingo margin right along the edge there. Oh, but it looks like we're a little too tall there, so we need to cut some off the bottom as well. Let's see about how much oh yeah, probably just like, yeah, about 1/8 of an inch off of there. Okay, so now our boards should not be too tall for the card. They are not. And we'll just line this up like so. And then this piece is going to come in here, lined up under there. And our little Crabby is going to fill that, so I think we'll be okay. Awesome. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of glue along the bottom here. I'm going to do the bottom and the sides. And I am going to go ahead also put some at the top of our little surfboards. I don't know why I keep thinking of them as cactuses. Maybe because that cacti, maybe because one is green. I don't know. There. So we glue that down. Now the reason I didn't put glue along the top is that way we can still slide pieces in behind that and have it line up the way we want it to. So we're going to take this piece, we're going to put a little glue in there. Now what I should have done is not put the glue on behind my surfboards yet. Fortunately, it wasn't dry yet, so we're okay. I'm going to line this up like so. There. Push those back down. Okay. Now we have this adorable little crab. You guys, I wish they had given us like 50 of these because I love these little crabs. And look at this. They even thought to make slits between the pinchers so that he can hold the sign. Yes, Joyce, I have found the Stampin' Seal is noticeably stronger than the regular. The other thing is, too, the other one, the mechanism seems to get hung up and I don't know how to explain it, but it gets hung up and twisted up a little more so than the Plus. I don't know why that is, or if it's just my imagination. So all the way around, I just like the Plus better. Okay, so now we're going to put his little sign in his little pinchers. See, just like that, because his little pinchers open. Isn't that adorable? They think of everything. So I do want to put a tiny dot of glue behind the two that are going to go in the front, because then they'll hold on to the sign. There we go. Get it lined up. And he kind of covers up a little bit of the letters, and at first that bothered me, but it's not too bad. See, we'll put him right about here. And yeah, there's a little bit. I'm just trying to think how I want to do this so that I don't want that flirty flamingo to show through the back there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find a scrap piece that I have. Of that lighter tan. And while I'm making my kit, I keep every little tiny scrap because I never know what I might feel inclined to do with it. Like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a little piece and glue it behind the crab like that. And I think that's going to work just fine. Hold it there for a moment, let it get tacky. Oh, that's good. See, now it doesn't even show. There. Look at that. Isn't he a cutie? Oh, and I forgot. Oh, poo. I forgot that it goes kind of like that. So I need to have a little bit over there too. Find my little strip that I just cut off. Oh, right here. And we're going to put a little behind that piece right there. Oops. This is a little trickier because I have to know exactly where I need it. Oh, that piece needed to be longer. Okay. Look at that. See? Nobody knows but us chickens. Look at that. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and we've got, there we go, a little starfish and a little seashell. I did like all the little die cuts in this kit. And we'll put the starfish there. And the little seashell. Somewhere there's a little mermaid running around with half a bra on. Okay. And then we'll put a few of those little tiny embellishments on. And then we'll take our adhesive eraser, get all the glue off that I got all over the place. Let's see, put them there. There. On this one I put a couple extras because I put a couple up here. Whoops. And now I'll take my adhesive eraser and just get these little bits of glue off. I don't think there's very many. I think we're good. And there is our last card, which is kind of a remake of one of the ones that Stampin' Up! Designed. Thank you, Joyce. Okay, so let's clean up the mess and we'll kind of take another look over what we made tonight. If you, like I said, if you found that you kind of enjoyed this paper pumpkin thing, you've never given it a try, you can try it for 1, 3, 6, or 12 months. And you can find out more about paper pumpkin at my website at heathersides.stampinup.net. There's other supplies that you need, or if you wanted to take advantage of the bonus bucks thing that you can earn where once you've spent $50, for every $50 you spend, you get $5 coupon for future purchases. You can do that on my website. I'd love to earn your business. So let's see what we got here. Let's move this stuff out of the way. Okay. I also have extra cards I want to show you that I made. I always try to make a few extra that we don't necessarily have time to make together, but I want to just give you a few more ideas. I like this one. It's a little more of a masculine. I mean, it still could go to a female, but it is a little bit more masculine. And I use the Early Espresso Designer Series paper. The inside is just a few of those little starfishes. Again, that brown and blue that I really like together. And then we have this one right here, utilizing Melon Mambo and Flirty Flamingo. What did I do on the inside? I think I just did more little, I forgot to do the Flirty Flamingo starfish, but that's okay. And then I have this one here. I see brighter days ahead. That's what I did for the inside, just stamped the envelope with a bunch of sunshines. So those were the extras that I made for you. We've got the ones that Stampin' Up! Designed. That have the 3D right there. And then we have all the ones that we made together tonight. So we've got the one with the blue Adirondack chair. I knew I could spit it out eventually. We have this one with the beautiful horizon. Wish You Were Here. Oops, that's just the second one of that pattern. And then finally, the one that was a remake of one that Stampin' Up! Designed right there. So you can see how the kit, I mean, I made, how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cards with my kit. And you guys saw how many pieces I still have left over. And that's pretty standard with a paper pumpkin kit. You can make a ton of cards. Even though what they provided you is all of the supplies you need to make, typically it's 9, but sometimes when it's a project other than cards, you get enough for 10 or 12. But there are so many extra pieces to do so many fun things with. If you liked what you saw tonight and you had fun, and I sure hope you did, thank you, John. Thank you, Joyce. Lucy, come back with that. Oh, hold on, please. Lucy. No. Lucy's stealing stuff again. Anyway, let's try that again. If you enjoyed what you saw tonight, if you could give me hearts and thumbs up and likes and all that good stuff, I would really appreciate it. It makes me feel good, and it tells the algorithm to share this with others. If you don't follow me yet on YouTube, you can find me at a great time sharing these with you guys and spending time with you, and I hope you enjoy it too. I'm just noticing Joyce's comment, and I want to address that. She said she's been having trouble with seal, but she figures it's user error. She's been using snail for decades, and she thinks the seal needs a different touch. And yes, you are absolutely correct, Joyce. I used snail for years and years and years, and I had never even used seal until a couple of years ago. It is a bit of an acquired touch. It took me a little bit to get used to. However, that being said, once I got it all figured out, once you get it figured out and figure out the trick to it and the pressure you need to do and that kind of thing, you'll find that you really do like it, but it does take some getting used to. So anyway, I hope you guys had a great time tonight. I will be back next month to show you more paper pumpkin ideas, but if you want something more in the meantime, I'm here every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time to share with you card ideas with our current line of products. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.